I'm Penny. I'm sitting here in Senley Park, watching the sunlight filter through the leaves and listening to the gentle rustle of the wind. It's hard to believe that just a few months ago, my life was a nightmare, filled with darkness and fear. But now, as I look at the sketchbook in my lap, I can see the light starting to break through. It all started on a rainy night in Pittsburgh. I was just a little girl, only 5 years old, when I witnessed the most terrible thing imaginable. My family, my parents, Mark and Lisa, and my older brother Jake, were brutally murdered in our own home. I was hiding under the bed in my parents' room, trembling with fear as I heard the screams and the gunshots. I could smell the blood and the rain, and I could see the red and blue lights flashing through the window. When the police finally arrived, they found me huddled under the bed, my dress soaked in blood. I was in shock, unable to speak or move. The detective who found me, Detective Alex Reed, took me into his care. He was a kind and gentle man, and he promised to take care of me. Over the next few weeks, Alex tried to find out who had killed my family. He interviewed witnesses, searched for evidence, and followed every lead he could find. But the case was cold, and there were no obvious suspects. The killer had left no fingerprints, no DNA, and no motive. As the weeks turned into months, and then into years, I stopped speaking. I couldn't bear to talk about what had happened, and I was too afraid to trust anyone. I spent my days in silence, drawing pictures of the nightmare that haunted me. Alex tried to help me, but he didn't know how. He was a detective, not a therapist, and he didn't understand the depths of my pain. But then one day, something changed. I was 15 years old, and I was sitting in my room, drawing as usual, when I heard a soft knock on the door. It was Alex. He had brought me a gift, a box of art supplies. He said he thought it might help me express myself. At first, I didn't know what to do with the box. I had been drawing for years, but I had never used real art supplies before. I opened the box and looked at the brushes, the paints, and the pencils. They were beautiful, but they also scared me. I didn't know how to use them, and I was afraid that if I did, I would remember the pain. But then, I picked up a brush and started to paint. It was like something took over me. I didn't think about what I was doing, I just let my hand move. The paint spilled onto the paper, and I watched as the colors and the shapes took form. It was a storm of motion, a chaos of emotions. And in that chaos, I found a way to express the pain that I had been carrying for so long. Over the next few weeks, I painted every day. I filled page after page with my drawings, each one more intense than the last. Alex watched me, but he didn't say anything. He just let me paint. One day, I drew a picture of a house. It was a dark, foreboding house with black walls and twisted branches. And looming over the house was a shadow, a shape that was both familiar and terrifying. I knew who the shadow was, but I was too afraid to say it out loud. Alex noticed the shadow in my drawing. He asked me about it, but I didn't answer. I couldn't answer. I was too afraid. But then, one night, I had a dream. In the dream, I was back in my parents' room, hiding under the bed. I could hear the screams and the gunshots, and I could see the shadow standing over me. But this time, the shadow spoke to me. It told me that it was sorry, that it hadn't meant to hurt me. And then, it showed me its face. When I woke up, I was shaking. I knew that the dream was a message, a sign. I knew that I had to tell Alex what I had seen. The next day, I showed Alex the drawing of the shadow. I pointed to the face, and I told him who it was. It was his partner, Detective Ryan Miller. Alex didn't believe me at first. He said that Ryan was a good man, that he would never do something like that. But I knew that I was right. I had seen the shadow in my dream, and I had seen the look in Ryan's eyes. Alex started to investigate Ryan. He found out that Ryan had been involved in some shady business deals and that he had a motive for killing my family. He also found a silver cigarette case at the crime scene, engraved with the initials ML. It was a match for Ryan's initials. But Ryan wasn't going to go down without a fight. He tried to frame Alex for exploiting me for investigative purposes, and he had me taken away from Alex by Child Protective Services. I was heartbroken. I had finally found someone who I could trust, someone who had taken care of me for so long, and now he was being taken away from me. But I knew that I had to be strong. I had to help Alex prove that Ryan was the killer. One day, I was at the trauma center, drawing as usual, when I heard a knock on the door. It was Alex. He had come to see me. He told me that he needed my help. He needed me to draw a picture of Ryan, a picture that would prove that he was the killer. I was scared, but I knew that I had to do it. I picked up my pencil and started to draw. It was hard, but I remembered the face that I had seen in my dream. I drew the scar on Ryan's cheek, the coldness in his eyes, and the sneer on his lips. When I was done, I showed the drawing to Alex. He looked at it for a long time, and then he said that it was perfect. It was the evidence that he needed. The next day, Alex confronted Ryan at an old brick factory. He showed him the drawing, and he told him that he was going to pay for what he had done. Ryan tried to deny it, but he knew that he had been caught. He pulled out a gun and pointed it at Alex, but before he could pull the trigger, the tactical team that Alex had called in surrounded him. Ryan was arrested, and he was charged with the murder of my family. The trial was long and difficult, but in the end, justice was served. Ryan was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After the trial, I was finally able to go home with Alex. It was hard at first, but I knew that I was safe. Alex was my family now, and I knew that he would always take care of me. As the months passed, I started to heal. I started to speak again, and I started to draw pictures of happy things. I drew pictures of the park, of the flowers, and of the sun. I drew pictures of hope. And now, as I sit here in Senley Park, looking at the sketchbook in my lap, I know that I have finally found peace. The shadow that had haunted me for so long is gone, and I am free.